My husband's girl best friend is pregnant, and she says it's his. So, I met my husband, 25M, when I was 22, I am now 26, and we hit it off instantly. He was the man of my dreams. He took me on date nights, made sure I felt loved, and gave me big gifts every so often, telling me I was the only one for him. I believe this because we have been together for 4 years now, and I'd never had any issues until he introduced me to his best friend, who we will call Laura for privacy reasons. I remember we had an argument because he didn't tell me about her throughout our entire relationship, and he had been sneaking off to see her and hang out with her at parties while I was sleeping, making me believe he was working overtime. I was hurt by this, and my first thought immediately went to infidelity, but I found all of their texts to be platonic after he willingly told me to look through them. I thought she was nice at first because, when I first met her, she spoke to me politely and told me how lucky I was. That lasted for about a week until there was a get-together, and my husband invited me along because it was her mother's anniversary. Her family loved my husband because they had known each other since they were kids. I was okay with this and quite excited because I wanted to make more female friends and have girls' nights out to relieve my work stress since my job is difficult and I make 6 figures. I should also mention that my husband works an office job that doesn't pay much, so I handle all of the household bills and chores while he is trying to get another job. I walked into the house with my husband, and she happily ran over to him, immediately wrapped her whole body around his arm, and dragged him off to the garden. He didn't even come back to get me or anything after being dragged away, so I went to the kitchen to ask for a drink, where I was greeted by Laura's mother. She is a lovely person. We genuinely had a nice conversation about our own lives, and she made sure I felt welcome. The whole gathering was mainly nothing special until dinner. I sat down next to my husband and Laura walked up to me and asked me to move. I asked why, since the only other spot available was next to her uncle and mother, and because it was about her mother, wouldn't she want to sit next to her? Laura replied, because I want to sit next to him. I turned to my husband, who just nodded and told me to move as well, saying that I was being childish and making a scene. At that point, I genuinely felt my blood boiling. I stood up and told my husband that I felt uncomfortable, that I needed to go to the bathroom, and asked where it was. Laura told me, and I left the table, doing breathing exercises while trying to calm down. I ended up messaging my brother from the bathroom, and he said I was being jealous and that I was overreacting. So, I agreed and went back to the table to sit next to Laura's mother. The whole time, they were laughing, and it seemed that everything he said was funny to her. She kept rubbing his back, touching his arms, and saying how strong he had gotten, and she would look at me smugly. The breaking point came when I put a bit of meat onto my plate, and she said, "Are you really going to eat all of that?" I froze in embarrassment while my husband and Laura laughed. Her mother stood up for me, saying that was inappropriate and that she should treat guests with respect, but Laura ignored it. Laura is very pretty, slim, and works out, so hearing that from her hurt a lot. I stood up from my chair, walked out the front door, and called my dad. I told him to pick me up and that I'd explain why in the car. When I got in the car, I broke down and told him everything. He said I was most likely overreacting, but the situation was very odd and that I was welcome to stay with him for the time being. I thanked him and went back to our house. While I was getting comfortable, my phone flooded with messages from my husband and Laura. I read the messages, and to my horror, my husband said I had ruined the whole dinner and that he was going to stay there for the night. I then read what Laura said. She claimed I had ruined her night because of my pick-me behavior. After researching what that term meant, it only filled me with more anger. My husband came home around 5 p.m. from Laura's house, and I immediately told him that leaving me and staying at another woman's house was disgusting. He started shouting that I was overreacting again and I needed counseling for my jealousy issues. For about a month, everything was going okay again, apart from the fact that my husband became more distant and cold. I could feel that our argument had driven a wedge into our marriage. Then, this morning, I received a message from Laura with a positive pregnancy test and a threat saying that we should get divorced because it was my husband's. I don't know what to do. I'm just venting because I feel awful, and I feel like I failed as a wife. I don't know if I should confront my husband, but I'm thinking about it. Edit, I'm getting a lot of hate and death threats, so I'll clear up some of the allegations. I'm 26, not 22. I met my husband when I was 22. I haven't confronted him because he's not home yet, and I'm contemplating calling him and asking about everything there, but he hasn't replied to my good morning text since he woke up before me and went to work. My dad owns a company that works with care homes. I'm not going to say much about it for my own safety, but that's how I make my money. No, I wasn't earning 6 figures at 22, but I am now at 26. No, my dad wasn't against me. He was just confused because I was crying to him and wasn't making much sense, so he thought she was just being a bit touchy. No, Laura wasn't at our wedding, and I have doubts that they are childhood friends. I plan on messaging her mother to ask if they have known each other for as long as they say, and I'll be confronting my husband tomorrow when he gets home. Update 1. First of all, I want to say how thankful I am for all the love and support I have received. The advice has helped me so much. It has really made me understand where I stand in my relationship, and I finally know what I'm going to do. Also, I'm 26, not 22. Now for the story. My husband came home around 6 a.m., threw his keys on the counter, and went upstairs without saying anything to me. I thought this was a little rude, so I walked up after him, telling him we needed to talk. He said he was tired and needed to sleep, which just made me angry because I was serious. Halfway up the stairs, I told him that I knew about him and Laura, and he looked at me confused. I explained my side, the text, and what it all seemed like, and he ended up laughing in my face. This filled me with so much petty rage because I had had enough of being walked all over. I pushed past him into our room, got a suitcase from under the bed, and started packing his stuff for him. He started shouting really horrible things at me, but I didn't hear most of it because I was crying uncontrollably and busy shoving every item of clothing he owned into the suitcase. Most of it didn't fit, but he could come collect it later. One insult that stood out to me was, "Crazy bitch," and this is where I snapped and said some horrible things too. I know I called him a bad husband, but in a much ruder tone. He ended up leaving with a suitcase I packed and a plastic bag after I said I would get my dad involved if he didn't leave. Afterward, I took a recommendation from one of the comments and told my family everything. My brother didn't care, but my father was so angry there might as well have been steam coming out of the phone after the call. I haven't heard from my soon-to-be ex-husband, but his response to my question was complete disrespect, and I wasn't able to hold it in any longer. I'm sure what I did was a complete overreaction, and I was regretting it until I texted Laura's mother like I said I would. She didn't reply until 11 a.m., but basically what happened was that she had only met my husband 2 years ago, which I'm guessing was during the time of all the constant overtime from him. He is also currently staying there. This made me so angry that I texted Laura something petty, which I don't regret. I hadn't replied to her yet, so I told her that she could have him and that I couldn't wait until the same thing happened to her and she got cheated on. She hasn't replied yet or even seen the message. I have screenshotted everything she has said, including the picture, and I will be calling a lawyer later on. Nothing else has really happened. If it does, I will give another update. Thanks, everyone. Edit, sorry for the bad grammar. I haven't slept very well, and I'm about to go get some much-needed sleep. Small update, my husband messaged me, and I ignored it. Laura left me on read. My husband messaged me, saying that he was sorry, wanted to come home, and needed to talk about Laura's message. I'm not sure what he's going to say about it, but I'm going to message him back and ask him to meet me somewhere because I don't want him in my house right now. I'm not sure what he's going to say, but I'm ready for the lies and gaslighting. Love you all. Edit, I'm really disappointed in Reddit. I thought this could be a post where I could vent and have men and women help, give advice, and listen to me so I could finally feel like I was being heard. Instead, I'm getting a lot of sexist comments and people spamming me, saying I'm scummy for lying and that they will find me. If you are one of these people, please leave me alone. Yes, I have left out some information, and I'm not updating immediately, but I've been so tired these past 2 days, and I really do not have the energy or endurance to keep typing massive updates. I need to rest, and when I meet my husband, I will give one last update for the people who are supporting me and giving me amazing advice. You guys are so sweet, and I appreciate you all so much. I took some time off work to figure things out, but I'm not looking forward to the amount of work that's going to pile up from my missed days. I love you all, and I wish you all the best, especially the people who have gone through what I am going through now. Final update, I have no idea how to start this. I'm at a loss for words, and I feel genuinely sick. This is the lowest point I think I've reached mentally in a long time. I'm going to try to be as concise as possible, but I cannot stop crying, and I feel so betrayed. Thank you all for the support and love you have given me. Because of that, it motivated me to tell everyone what has happened. Laura called me early in the morning. I'm not sure why she called so early, but I wasn't doing much anyway. I was replying to comments, cleaning the kitchen, and wallowing in self-pity. Pathetic, I know. She was shouting at me, calling me out for cheating on my husband first and saying that my hypocrisy was laughable. I was genuinely mortified because I've never done that, so I asked her what she meant. Apparently, my husband, the man who was supposed to back me up and love me unconditionally, had told her a huge sob story full of lies. Apparently, during our argument, he told her that I hit him in a jealous rage and threw his stuff out the window, which was why he left. I told her that I was the one who kicked him out, that he didn't leave on his own accord, and that I definitely never laid hands on him, especially since he is 6 feet 1 inch and I am 5 feet 4 inches. She didn't believe me and told me the whole reason she had behaved that way in the first place was to teach me not to cheat. She said that my husband was a good man and that if I continued, another woman would treat him better than I did. But in the end, she decided to end it for him, so she sent me the messages. She agreed that what she did was childish and also confessed that she only liked him platonically and was doing him a favor because of all the horrible things she believed I had done. I believe this was so she would take him in, but I have no clue why he would lie about something this serious. After he had been there for a while, she told her mother the same story he told her, and her mother has currently blocked me. I showed Laura the message my husband sent me, and after countless back and forth conversations with her, we ended up agreeing to meet. She also said that I should cancel meeting up with my husband. At this point, she's conflicted because I told her the lies were fake. She also said that my husband told her I knew about her after she saw a Facebook post with him and me. I'm guessing she did some snooping, and my husband wasn't very private online. So, she asked why I had never been mentioned, and he said the conversation had never come up. I'm guessing that's where the lies began. The day he didn't come home until 5 p.m. was because she told him she was going to send me a picture of her friend's old pregnancy test and pretend it was hers so he could stop being treated like that. Instead of coming home to be confronted, he actually went to her house and hoped it would all blow over by morning. Laura also confessed that he tried to entice her into having sex with him. She said no and thought it was a little odd. I'm guessing that caused her to call me because that moment became a red flag for her. She was still on his side at the time but wanted to hear my side before she blocked me. I want nothing to do with him, and even the thought of him fills me with hate. I've never met a man so disgusting. I have never once laid hands on my husband, and the allegations completely disrespect people who are actually trapped in abusive relationships. I don't know how much more I can put up with. Everything is really getting to me. I'm genuinely sick and will certainly not be meeting him. I want nothing to do with him, but hopefully, I can meet with Laura and properly explain the truth. I doubt anything else interesting will happen, just boring legal stuff. If it does, I most likely won't make another update since I'm feeling mentally drained. Thank you, everyone. Edit, I've given up trying to block people who are trolls. I'm just going to reply to them and hope they delete their comments or stop replying anymore.